You stayed back last Thursday to fix that production bug. Nobody asked you to. You just did it. Because that's what you do. And then on Friday, your manager praised someone else for shipping a minor feature. That moment, that frustration. That's exactly what we are talking about today. If you ever felt like your work disappears into a void, you're not imagining it. This happens to some of the most skilled engineers out there. Not because their work is bad, but because great work done quietly often goes unnoticed. And today we are going to fix that. Your visibility at work directly affects which projects you get assigned to, guys. It affects who thinks of you when a team lead role open up. It affects when your performance review is there, even if your manager never says that out loud. That's not about playing politics. It's about making sure your actual work lands. Most engineer I talk to have the same habit. Head down, headphones on, ship the work. And that's actually great for focus. Here's the problem. When you never share what you're working on, people around you fill in the blank with nothing. Not because they don't care, but because they literally don't know what's going on with you. Think about the last time you shared progress on something you were building. Was that it code review, the final demo, the deployment? By that point, the conversations have already happened. The credit has already been assigned. People narrate work in progress. You showed up after the story was written. Imagine your manager asks you what you have been working on. If your answer is refactoring the data pipeline to improve idempotency, they smile and move on. But if you say, I fixed the bug that was causing us to reprocess orders, we were losing about 200 records a day. Now they are paying attention. Same work, completely different landing. This is what we are trying to achieve here. So there are decisions made about your career when you are not in the room. Who gets this project? Who's ready for the senior role? If nobody in those conversations knows your recent wins, you're not in the running. It's not about being liked, it's about being known. So what's the fix? Let's have the first fix. You don't need to send daily reports or spam your team channel. Just once, while you are in the middle of something meaningful, send a quick update. Something like been digging into the auth service issue, found the root cause, fixing it now. That one message puts your name on the work before it's done. Get into the habit of finishing this sentence after every task. I worked on X, and because of that, Y improved. So instead of I optimize the database queries, it becomes I optimize the database queries. Our dashboard now loads under a second instead of 4. That's the version people remember. That's the version that gets bought up in reviews. Fix 3. If you build something, you should be the one presenting it. Not your tech lead, not your manager, not your junior. That really happened with one of the known person in my network, in my connections. Next sprint review, volunteer to talk through what you shipped. Even 5 minutes in front of your team does more of your visibility than weeks of silent work. People see your name, hear your voice, connect the work to you. Every week, I would say every week, ideally on a Friday afternoon, spend 5 minutes writing down what you actually did. Not a full report, just a few lines. What you shipped, what you fixed, what impact it had. Because when your review comes around 3 months later, you will not remember most of it. But this doc will. And it will make the difference between meets expectations and exceeds expectations, guys. You don't need to be the loudest person in the room. But if you sit through every meeting without saying a word, people start to assume you have nothing to add. Find one moment, one relevant thing you can connect to your own work or experience and say it. It keeps you present in the people's mind without requiring you to perform. So, next fix. This sounds very uncomfortable, like building your brag dog, but for a lot of engineers, you need to hear them out. You need to hear me out. A brag dog is just a private document you can consider where you record your wins, like projects, fixes, impacts, numbers, and the feedback you receive. You're not showing it to anyone. It's for you so that when your manager asks, "What have you been working on lately?" you're not scrambling. You open the doc, you have the answer. You come across as someone who knows their own value. So now, before you go and start posting updates every hour, there is a balance here. Oversharing is just damaging as silence. Nobody wants you to announce every comment. The goal is to be strategically visible, guys, not constantly loud. The right update to the right people at the right moment, that's the skill. So, what your manager needs to hear is different from what your teammates needs to hear. When your manager cares about, did this move the needle? Was it reliable? Did it unblock the team? Your peers care about, was it interesting? Can I learn from it? Does this person collaborate well? Same work, two different framings. Get comfortable switching between them. I hear this a lot, guys. I'm not just the type of talk. I am not just the type to talk about myself, and I get it. But here is the thing: most of these fixes don't require you to talk at all, guys. It can be a written Slack update, or document comment, or a short Loom recording walking through what you have built. Visibility does not mean being the loudest person in the room, guys. It means making sure your work is not visible. And here is what starts happen when you do this consistently. Your manager starts thinking about you when any of the new project comes up. Your peers start referencing your work in conversations. And you start getting pulled into rooms where you have not been before. None of these things happens overnight, but it starts from the very next update you send. If you watch senior engineer closely, you will notice something. They produce great work, but they also narrate it. Not in an arrogant way. They just make sure the right people know what they are working on and what it's solving. That's not a personality thing. That's a habit. And habits can be built from the consistency and discipline. I want to give you three things, guys, you can actually do this week. Not someday, this week. First, send one mid task update in the Slack or wherever your team communicates, like the Teams meeting or Slack. Second, write down two or three things you worked on this week and what changed because of them. Third, in your next meeting, find one thing to contribute. Even a question counts. A lot of engineers resist this because it feels like self promotion. But think about this way: when a doctor updates a patient's chart, they're not bragging, they're communicating, right? When you share, when you share what you worked on and what it solved, you are doing the same thing. It's a professional communication, guys, and it's a part of the job. It's a part of the job where we are. Yeah. Give me 1 minute. I think here we are at slide 20. Yeah. So this is done. Yeah, let's move. Okay, so it's not that about the engineers. Okay, you don't know that this should be more visible. This is about the action tree. And also, it feels very uncomfortable. It feels like you are bothering people or making yourself sounds very important. But here is what I have seen. The engineers who stay quiet don't get overlooked because their work is bad. They get overlooked because nobody knew what they were doing. So don't be that kind of person. Now, it's what you need to do. Let's consider or imagine there are two engineers starting today with exactly the same skills. One keeps working on the same way, head down, ship, and hope someone notices. The other starts being intentional, updates, demos, running a law of their work. 12 months later, they are in very complete places, different places. The difference is not the talent, it's visibility. So the visibility, that's the reason it's mentioned here. Visibility is not about bragging. Okay. And it starts with what you do this week. So what you need to do here, you have done the work. Your work should not get unnoticed, even you know uh, whether you deserve credit or not. Drop in the comments. I genuinely read them and I want to hear what happened with you. So if you like this video, just subscribe on it and I will just make more content regarding the same. Let's look out in the new video. Thank you.